I, Dr. Sarju Pandita, on behalf of AKGIM, welcome you all for this 5 days online FDP on psychometric testing and analysis. AKGIM has been consistently organizing faculty development programs for unleashing potential and helping academic fraternity to develop skills in various management-related areas, so as to enable participants apply that knowledge within their respective domains. Well, every situation comes with an opportunity, sometimes in best possible way, and very rarely under veils. This time, it came up under lot many wraps, like lockdown, which gave all of us an opportunity to focus on our inner self and gave plenty of time to get us updated and bridging the knowledge gaps through virtual platforms in form of or online FTPs, MDPs, webinars, and much more. AKGIM too wanted to contribute in bridging up these learning gaps in its own small manner. So here, we are all here in this virtual online 5 days FTP on psychometrics. The psychometric techniques corroborate every day the existence of individual differences and the possibility of their measurement. The applications of psychometric in defining relative stable individual differences such as intelligence or personality, and in distinguishing morbid from normal states. In coming 4 days, we are all will try to explore various assessment tools required in psychometrics, which are used in organizations and for various research. For this, we have invited various experts who are using these tools in industry. But first of all, let's seek the blessings of Ma Saraswati, Goddess of Knowledge and Wisdom. Now, may I kindly request Dr. Vidhi Agarwal to please have a virtual lamp lighting. Ma'am, please. Thank you, Vidhi ma'am. Before we begin with today's session, may I kindly request Executive Director, GMA, Shri Vinay Gupta ji, who himself is a veteran in HR-related field, to deliver inaugural address. Having worked with NTPC and JP Cements, Vinay ji is serving GMA from more than a decade. It is always a privilege to listen to you, sir, and we are equally eager this time as well. Sir, please.
Thank you, Dr. Sarju, Dr. Pandey, other distinguished faculty of AKGIM, other members of GMA. I see the head of business administration of RKGIT also here. Welcome, ma'am. And all other participants, delegates on this program. Wish you all a very happy evening. At the outset, I'd like to thank AKGIM for associating GMA with such developmental programs. In fact, GMA has a vision of transforming society by facilitating excellence in management practices and technology. This program is also one such initiative which adds to this vision objectives. Well, I remember way back in 2004 and 2005, we started using psychometric analysis in NTPC. I was in NTPC for the senior management cadre for as a tool for development center. At that point of time, psychometric was used not for assessment but for development. That's how psychometric started in NTPC. And not only psychometric, the development center consisted of various tools like psychometric analysis. There was a leaderless group discussion. There was role play, and there were detailed interviews, and there were other decision-making tests and questionnaires. So we used to have these 4 or 5 tools for assessing an officer to identify the development needs of the senior management for NTPC. So I remember, and we started this under the direct guidance of Professor T.V. Rao, who was the consultant at that point of time for NTPC. So we have, and I also have had a personal experience of using the psychometric analysis. Over a period of time, the psychometric analysis and other tools, as I just described, got extended for assessing participants while interviewing the candidates. For interviewing officer cadre candidates, we used to have these role play and the psychometric analysis and other tools, because we are not able to find out about the candidate within a 15-minute interview. An interview alone, there are many things which we cannot really identify and find out about a person. So we use these techniques also in selecting a candidate. Psychometric tests are questionnaires to measure the skills of persons. That's what I really understand. And that's what we have been using it as. Like test is something to find out what is right or what is wrong. But a questionnaire is used to find out about someone's personality. And this is a questionnaire. Psychometric tests includes a set of questionnaires to find out the personality of a person. And similarly, in recruitment, this is used for assessing the aptitude and the potential of an employee. Like, for example, as I said, for development center in NTPC, we were not considered for a promotion beyond deputy general manager or additional general manager or general manager and above, unless and until we clear the development center. So this is a test which not only finds out, or which not only establishes what skills I have and what is the knowledge I have, but it also helps to find out my potential. What is my potential? What is my aptitude? What is my decision-making skill? And the best part of it is it's a time-bound, activity. So you have to take decisions under pressure of time. That is a very big thing. This is an activity which helps in identifying how a person behaves under different types of stress, how his behavior is. For example, if you want to see if you want to measure a leadership of a person, leadership as it is cannot be measured. So you need to decide what are the kinds of traits which you think are essential for a good leader. And you look for those traits through these questionnaires. This questionnaire, as I said, is supposed to discover what kind of person you are and which questions are designed to expose how you behave and also what motivates you. So this is a very intensive sort of a activity or a tool with which you can find out what really a person is, how you think he will go ahead in the organization. This is as I said, how good you are at the task you are there, and as I said, how quickly you get the right answer, because there's a pressure of time in this sort of an activity. As I said, the development center subsequently got converted into an assessment center for recruitment purposes. They started assessing the candidates, and as of now, presently, it is an assessment center is used even for identifying the promotability and the promotion criteria of a person, whether he is worth promoting or not. What is he good at? What he is not good at? If you, in some cases, you are able to find out through these tests whether a person is on his right job. You may have to think of rotating his job depending upon his traits, upon his character, upon his personality. You may like to suppose a person is a very sociable person. You may not like to keep him in a sensitive post, like of accounts or a vigilance or any such posts, for which being social is a disadvantage or is a negative trait. So these are things which help in identifying what type of a job a person should be given, how he will perform in that job, and uh, you know uh, I got broken in my chain of thoughts. So what I'm trying to say is these are the things which help in finding out and your suitability for the job you are doing and for the job you are being identified for. So psychometric analysis is one of the tests which are required for assessing a person. It is not the only test. This is not the only test. As I said, for assessing a person, you need so many things. You need his, decision-making task. You give him a task. You give him a role play, interpersonal role play. You reverse the role plays, and these are more important in an HR field, where a person is required to even work on assessment of others. So this is an activity which is very necessary for the HR fraternity and also for the senior management, the heads of departments who are supposed to assess their employees working with them and to see how their team will perform and whether they need to make any changes in the team. So I think this is what I wanted to share based on my experience. And I once again thank AKGIM for having me with you to share my thoughts, my experience, and for associating GMA along with AKGIM in these types of programs. Thank you, Pandeyji. Thank you, AKGIM.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you so much. You always give your insight in a very diligent manner, and this time equally it was very good, sir. Now may I request Director AKGIM, Dr. T.R. Pandey, who is A guiding force behind this FDP, his constant support and motivation always helps us to achieve better than before. So please share your thoughts on the occasion.
So am I audible to you, Sergio?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right, great. So good evening and Jai Hind to one and all here. Let me start with saying sorry here in psychometric testing analysis, FDP that we got delayed by more than half an hour, I believe. But nevertheless, this again is a part of psychometric testing, intervened by technology and, resultant dynamics. So nothing to be worried. Again, probably technology may have thought, to test us here itself right away, by giving first an example of intervening. Right. So once again, good evening to you, and thank you, Dr. Sarju and the team, who created this particular FDP for the faculty members, for the concerned persons, in this area. As I just told you, and Vinesh, executive director of GMA, just shared with him, that. How important this particular aspect of judgment of human behavior is. uh, these days, we are having socio-economic changes, socio-political changes, and trust me, all the changes, by and large, they have been triggered by, of course, primarily by technology. And as a result, human behavior, dynamics is changing, expectation of the people towards life is changing. And then these changes, they are creating a lot of hurdles, lot of challenges, and of course, besides unleashing a lot of scope for, psychologists, for the experts in the area, for HR experts, to devise new mechanism on how to capture what a person exactly is. I'll be sharing certain experience of my own, with you in a few while, from this particular point. So that says, this particular thing, psychometric testing analysis, this will continue to change and change, unleashing simultaneous scope for, analysts and HR experts, psychologists, the faculty members even, to explore new things so that you stay relevant. Because as the industry, as the economy, the society changes, we will have to change our approach to this particular phenomenon on finding the best talent, relevant talent, and suitable talent. So I believe this is the importance behind this particular topic. I'll just share one particular example of my own. Um, I have been in Indian Army, rather I've been never subjected to SSB 3 times, of Indian Army, wherein they have been, administering this testing, psychometric testing on the cadets in different mechanisms. It was only after 3 SSBs I attended that I came to know as to what exactly, this psychometric testing does, and how and why they, apply this on the cadets and the people. The same question, there were a set of 20 questions, I believe. The same question was asked in a different manner on 4 to 5 different platforms. So probably, I'm talking of this way back in 1997, probably, So I could have lied, on one particular occasion, because I had gone through certain coachings, on how to qualify this, this test. So I could have lied at one, occasion. I could have, shared something which is very adulterated, very alert and conscious at one occasion. But this could not have been the case on all 4 and 5 occasions. The same question being asked through different phrases, different wordings, and somebody who is new altogether, probably, could not escape, the clutch of this particular test. So that was one, you do it. Now, since, IT industry has, emerged so effective, has developed so much, we have got so many software, so many tools, to capture what a person is, whether they are relevant or not. A person or a candidate concerned has got so much of, online affiliation, through social media, something or the other. So it is just not only one particular tool, the 360-degree assessment, of this particular phenomenon, that you just cannot escape, trust me. But one of my students, a few years ago, he had, joined one shipping corporation, wherein generally they are supposed to stay for months, on ship, and sometimes away from the country, original country, 7 to 8 months. So generally, there is always an agreement between the employer there, on that particular SIP and the candidate. So say the disagreement is of 10 months or 8 months. So generally the candidate will say, sir, what after 8 months, if you ask me to stay for either 2 months or 3 months or 4 months, most of the candidates, they do ask. And once you live, at a place which is called completely marooned, in ocean, wherein you have got 360-degree view of water and water. Trust me, some of us may develop a lot of fear psychosis, against that particular phenomenon. So the employer there, they try to test, these people so well that they get the best candidate, the relevant candidate, and the candidate who is, persevering at the same time. But despite that, many a candidate, they have been successfully able to cheat that particular phenomenon of testing. So what they have started doing now, rather than subjecting the candidates to psychometric testing and testing of this kind, they ask that we'll take candidates only through some references. Those who have worked with us, their reference will be more of effective parameter here to ask somebody to join us than this particular mechanism. So what I'm trying to say, of course, we are normatively we are trying to do something better and better. We are trying to explore new things with IT and AI, but challenges are increasing and they will continue to increase. The only thing is we also have to brush up our understanding as a faculty, as an expert, because faculty vitality. I mean, if I assume that most of us are, professors or faculty members, affiliated with some college or the other. So vitality, intellectual vitality, faculty vitality, of course, is students' competence. And when you talk of student competence, you are talking of a particular country's competence. So that way, we as a faculty, we as experts, I mean, if some of us are there, we need to keep on upgrading ourselves, keep on changing ourselves to the new developments in and around us. This is what I believe I'll say, and not taking much of a time, because already so much of a time has passed away. I'll request Dr. Sadhu to take it up. So thank you once again, and sorry for being so late with us.
Thank you so much, sir, for again motivating us and letting us sail through this. I'll not say a difficult time, but wherein sometimes we, feel emotionally low, and there are circumstances when you have to stand up and face the situation. I think Pankaj sir,
most probably we are suspending today's session.
Okay, she has joined, sir.
What we want exactly is we want to confirm that the speaker is there, because this creates some sort of distrust. People are under those impressions that possibly technical glitch could not happen the first day.
No, since you were very much there when we had a dry run in the afternoon, so possibly there is a technical glitch from her side. I think the entire network of her building has gone off, and she was trying to log in, but somehow I believe you had a word with ma'am. Is she now joining? Will she be able to join now, sir? Pankaj sir? Anyways, nevertheless, show must go on. So what I was saying, that there are times when situation goes, it doesn't go the way you want it to be. So, but we have to stand and face the situation and emerge as a winner. So here I am trying to find out the solution to our today's, I'll not say a problem, but the situation which we have come across. So emotionally, yeah. Just hold on, she's there.
Yes, ma'am, she has joined.
Anila ma'am, you are there? Please unmute yourself, Anila ma'am.
I'm sorry, I was just telling Pankaj that I have been able to join so he can go off. I am so sorry, everybody out here, for this 1 hour of grueling technology driven glitch that we have faced. Where are you guys? Just fill me in, please.
Sure, ma'am. Let me formally introduce you to our today's speaker for the day, Miss Anila. She's internationally certified City and Guilds UK learning professional with more than 2 decades of professional experience in various facets of adult learning across industries, organization level, and assignment. So welcome to this FDP, ma'am. Doesn't matter. Sometimes it so happens that technological glitch is there, but it's okay. Let's continue with the session with much more energy and much more insight from your side. So I welcome you once again, ma'am. Anila ma'am is the co-founder of Women-Led India and an author of Alchemy of Coaching, Maximize Self and Team Performance as First-Line Managers. And over the span of her career, she has handled a wide range of responsibilities. Currently, Ms. Ratan is director at Larks Learning Private Limited. Now, not taking much of your time, and let me straight away hand it to to Ms. Anila. Ma'am, please take over the session.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And I am really, really sorry. I see all these people right there in front of me, and God knows how long, and you've been wondering what has happened. It seemed that the internet went off. And then thankfully Pankaj came after I tried everything, and he said, ma'am, hotspot kar lo na. बात तो सही है, hotspot क्यों नहीं try किया मैंने? वो तो मेरे को बिल्कुल पहले करना चाहिए था. So sometimes it really helps to have somebody who is good at technology, and when you're all stressed up, to say, hold on, it's not that big a deal, hotspot kar lo. Okay, so the way I had planned the session was approximately an hour. How much time do I have? I have approximately 30 minutes right now. So I will do it a little fast forward, and I'll come directly at the questions. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask a couple of questions, and when you guys answer that, through that we will go over the subject. Is that okay with everybody?
Ma'am, can I intervene in between just for a sec? Right. If you can conduct it for today's half an hour, and half an hour will be conducted tomorrow in continuation with what you will be leaving, right?
We could do that.
If it is okay with you.
It is okay with me.
And I believe participants too would be, very keen on having more of insight and more of experience, from a person who has been handling this particular field from so many years. So I think it would be comfortable with you, and I believe participants equally would be looking forward to it. So let us have half an hour session today, and we'll have half an hour session tomorrow, right?
Not a problem at all. Let's see how it goes today. If need be, we can do more. Don't worry about it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So I wanted to just check if everybody can use their chat to communicate with me. Would that be possible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So the question I want to ask is, how many of us here in this group are actually aware of what psychometrics is all about? Just raise of hand, a yes, a percentage. Divya, Rohit, Akanksha, Jugesh, okay. Parul, Usha. Okay, so why don't you, in the next 1 minute, type whatever comes to your mind when you look at, or when I say the word psychometrics or psychometric analysis. जो भी दिमाग में आता है, start typing it out. And I'm watching the chat. Then I'll be able to adjust as to what do I want to cover. When I say the word psychometrics or psychometric analysis, what comes to mind? Related to behavior. Yes. Behavioral prediction. Aptitude testing. Yes. Reading the mind of an individual. That's a very nice one. Okay, psychometric is done to assess and analyze Okay. So I'm going to take a minute and I'm going to share my screen now. Okay. All I want to do is I want to take everybody through one particular definition that I've put. Okay. Can everybody see this?
Yes, ma'am, it is visible.
Okay. Now, this is what I was intending to cover. Basically, what is psychometric analysis? I wanted to very shortly touch on validity and reliability because it will be in detail done on the third day. I wanted to mention the various assessments that are available in the Indian market. And I wanted to spend, my main focus was to spend some time on its application. कि ये use कैसे करते हैं, and how do we choose which one do I want to use and why and how do I make that choice? That also is going to be covered on the fourth day. Now, as I asked psychometrics and psychometric tests, what it means to you, and I'm reading the chat as I go along, this would be a good definition if I wanted to say it in a very snappy, short way. I would say that psycho is talking about the brain, metrics is talking about measuring. So in simple words, psychometrics is the science or is the measurement of what's going on in my brain. Now, it could be in many different facets. And we obviously are not looking at, we are not looking at the medical part of it, but it is a technique of psychological measurement. That's the main thing. Now, what is psychometric tests? Anything that is objectively helping me measure what's going on in the brain is a psychometric test. It is as simple as that. Does that make sense? Hello? Is everybody there with me?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay. So now, once we understand that what we are talking about in all that jargon basically means anything that is helping me objectively find out कि दूसरे के दिमाग में चल क्या रहा है या मोटा मोटी क्या चल रहा है. That's all I actually want. It is a psychometric assessment. Okay. Now, in a psychometric assessment, there are two things. There are many in detail, but there are two things that are very, very important. Number one is validity, and number two is reliability. When I use the word valid, what does it mean? Valid basically means कि आपने जो कहा कि ये टेस्ट मेजर करता है, क्या वो ये मेजर करता भी है कि नहीं? Is it valid? Now, the thing is that there are so many tests available in the market that just about if I was to write a test and say, okay, now this is the next best psychometric analysis available, it's very difficult to distinguish. And you have to understand that there is a slight problem with the minute we talk about anything which is about the brain. There's a lot of bias that comes. Therefore, it is very important for us to know that it is valid or it is not. So there are n number of tests. But before you touch a test, you need to ask this question: what is the validity percentage and what is the reliability percentage? Now, what do I mean by reliability? By reliability, I mean that if today I take the test, जो results आएंगे, and after 10 days I take the same test, क्या वो ही results आएंगे? अगर मैं एक साल के बाद लेती हूँ, क्या वही आएंगे? अगर मैं कनाडा में बैठ के लेती हूँ, तो क्या वही आएंगे? Is it reliable across different time zones, across different mood palettes? Is it something that again and again and again will give me the same kind of result? Again, these two things about the validity and the reliability. There is going to be a session that's being taken on the third day, I think, which is going to be covering this in detail. So I will not cover it very deeply here. But what I want to leave the group, the audience, with is that a psychometric test, whatever you read, whatever big things that we read, a lot of jargon we read, it basically means something, an objective way of actually coming to know what is it that we probably will do in a certain given circumstance. Now, it could be cognitively, हम क्या करेंगे? or it could be personality wise hum kya karenge. But this is what it means. And the two things that are very, very critical when we are talking about it is the validity and the reliability. Now, I wanted to cover what are the assessments that are available in the market, because a lot of us would have heard of some assessment or the other, somewhere or the other. So if you can put on the chat, any assessments jinke baare aapne suna hoga. Just put the names, whatever comes to your mind. I love what Raghu has written, prejudged prejudice versus actual behavior. I'll spend some time after we've done this, this section about the industry tests available. Any tests that anybody has heard of? Yes. MBTI, yes. MBTI is a very well-known test. Yes. Anybody else? Okay. EQ test, emotional quotient test, yes. DISC, Hadoop, yes. So we have heard FIRO-B, very good. Yes. So what I want to explain is, there can be n number of tests. दो तरीके हैं देखने का. एक तो, what is it measuring? And I'm going to share my screen once again, just for a slide or two. Can everybody hear this? Sorry, can everybody see this?
Yes, ma'am, it is visible.
So this is just one slide in which it's talking about types of psychometric tests. I could actually be doing a test to understand how good are you at math. Numerical reasoning, that is also a psychometric test. Or I could be doing a psychometric test or a battery of tests to know how good are you at verbal reasoning, or error checking, or logical reasoning. So a psychometric test by definition is something that objectively is giving me an idea of how would your mind behave. Now it could be a test like this, or it could be a test giving me idea about your personality. It could be both ways. And now when we talk about personality, it is not that this is the only way that Anila Ratan will behave. It actually is indicative of how would she probably behave because of inherent way she is, inherent habits she has, inherent traits that she has, in case such a situation is given. And I'll explain that a little further once I have talked about the assessments in the market. I have just put whatever came to my mind in terms of psychometric tests that are easily available in India and are thought of highly in the Indian corporate market. Extended disk, I'm aware that you're going to be taking there's going to be a session in detail about extended disk. Then FIRO-B is going to be covered. MBTI, I know somebody mentioned it. 16PF right now, somebody mentioned it. Gallup, Strength Finder, again, I see somebody has mentioned it. The important thing is that there are a huge number of tests that are available, and each test, for example, Thomas profiling is based on the DISC theory. MBTI is based on the DISC theory. Extended disk is based on the DISC theory. The DISC theory is actually talking about that all personalities can be divided into more or less 4 quadrants. So when we are looking at various tests, we need to understand what is the basis of this test. What is the actual underlying theory that is being used? If we understand that, we will be able to understand, do we actually agree with that, or is that what I want to measure, which is the most important thing? because now I want to know कि इसका करना क्या है. Okay, I have these tests available. What is the use of these tests in corporates and in education? And I'll cover corporates because that's what I understand better. In corporates, how do we use assessments? We use assessments for 3 purposes. First, recruitment, and I'll explain how. Second, leadership pipeline or succession planning. And the third is L&D, learning and development. तो हम इसको यूज कैसे करते हैं? रिक्रूटमेंट में आजकल बहुत यूज किया जा रहा है. रिक्रूटमेंट में वो क्या पता करना चाहते हैं? This is the job profile. Okay. In this job profile, I require a person who is very good at goal setting, who is very good with talking to people. It's a sales profile. Now, it makes sense for me that if I go and hire somebody, I should hire somebody jiska naturally a person really likes speaking to people. Do you agree with me? Yes, no? If I was to give an example, retail mein, I want somebody who's at shop floor. So if somebody is at shop floor whose intrinsic work is to say, hello, ma'am, how are you doing? Please come in. How can I help you? And smile, welcoming. What would it be better to hire a person who actually likes smiling? जिसको अच्छा लगता है लोगों को मिलना. जब कोई नया बंदा आता है उसका ऑटोमेटिकली स्माइल आती है. वो ऑटोमेटिकली कहता है, you know, ma'am, how are you doing? How can I help you? Or is it better that I hire somebody who's very serious? और फिर मैं उसको सिखाऊं कि स्माइल कैसे करना है.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening. Did I miss somebody? Okay, I'll get back. There was just an interruption. So what the companies realized is, okay, that if I come to know कि ये मेरा job description है और इस job description को करने के लिए मुझे ये personality traits चाहिए हैं एक बंदे की, then I should go and hire people who have that personality trait in them without having to train them because it's costly to train them. That was the real reason for psychometric tests to come in. So if I want an engineer, I want somebody who's detailed. Can I go and actually hire somebody who actually automatically even in his sleep, because of the way he is, because of what is his personality, what traits he has, bachpan se wo jaisa hai, he is very detail oriented? Or should I find somebody and then train that person to be detail oriented? And when they decided that it's easier and it is less costly to actually go and find the right personality for the right job and hire accordingly, it saves money. That's when recruitment assessments started coming into. And the first time, a very interesting piece, the first time assessments were actually used was in the US Navy, World War I. They needed to figure out कि under pressure, which are the cadets that perform and which don't. So basically, अगर हम देखें, हमारा जो instinctual reaction होता है, fight, flight और freeze का, fight is the instinctual reaction that the US Army was looking at. कि अगर मैं किसी को बंदूक तानूं तो वो automatically वो भी बंदूक ताने और फिर पूछे कि भाई तूने क्यों किया ये. You get what I mean? But if it's a person जिसको मैं aggressively देखूं और वो एकदम ऐसे freeze हो जाए, उसको सिखाना कि आपको बंदूक वापस मारना है, आपको you have to kill, it's tougher. And that's how it came into corporates. That was the first use case when it actually started coming into corporates. And they said, you know what, if the army can use it, so can we. If the army requires that, so do we. So having said that, I'm bringing it, just give me 1 second. I'm bringing it to a particular slide I want to share. And once I share this slide, if anybody wants to give me Can you see this slide?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
According to me, this defines what I'm saying very well. It allows the company to gather a comprehensive understanding of an individual's personality and abilities. As I talk to you, We can have assessments that give us an idea about a personality. And we can also have a battery of assessments telling us about an ability. When I say ability, an ability could be verbal reasoning. An ability could be looking at something and finding errors very fast. Employers who choose to use psychometric testing during the recruitment process gain a better overall evaluation of the candidate and hopefully in the process secure the best fit for the role. The whole aim is to actually find somebody who fits well. And there's only one purpose of doing that, and that is that we should spend less money. Because if we hire right, we'll have to train less, there will be less attrition, and we'll be able to keep the person longer. That is the basic purpose of an assessment in today's corporate world. And we can go deeper at into it and say how are we doing it and what are the risks that are there, because there are risks of actually using an assessment. It depends on what kind of assessment it is. Is it a valid assessment? For example, it boxes you. I'll give a normal example. We say कि 18 साल से पहले किसी बच्चे को हम किसी किस्म का assessment, psychometric assessments नहीं देते. क्यों नहीं देते? The reason is when a child actually does that and it suddenly says, oh, your personality type is like this. The teacher and the child both start saying, oh, acha, so this is the way that person is. It may not be true. And at 15, 16, the child is still developing, the personality is still developing. So it is not a good idea to box that. But at 18, a lot of use of assessments in educational setups is to understand how should we guide this person, how should we guide this child. Let's give an example. An example would be, let's say one of you look at an assessment of a child, of a student, and the student is working very hard and wants to be an engineer, okay, or wants to be a scientist. And you notice that this person, there's so much creativity that's coming obviously in the assessment. There's a clear personality trait which is indicative towards creativity. What should you do as an educator? What should you actually do? Can you do anything about it? Should you do anything about it? The fact that we are in engineering college is one part of it. So the child has come, or the student has come to us because of engineering. But in a lot of coaching that I do, and I'm talking about the 45 and 50-year-olds, second career, men and women, it is surprising how we now realize when we do assessments and now when we talk about your entire 20 years of working, and people say, oh my God, I should have always been a writer. I don't know why I'm doing what I've been doing for 20 years and I'm good at it. But that's not what my calling was. This is where in education, there is an application of assessments. And as educators, if we can use the assessments well, we can actually guide students to steer their career to where it'll be a calling from inside. Imagine if you were the kind of person who really would want to paint every day, get up and just paint, create something very nice. And you were going to be spending your entire life actually working on machines, which is quite drab. That's the kind of difference we can create with an assessment. So what do you think? And if you can put something down for me on the chat, what do you think? How can we utilize assessments in the education sector? Any use cases that come to mind, share it with me in the chat. And let's see. Raghu had written prejudged or prejudice versus actual behavior. Yes. Tomorrow, Sergio, if we get maybe 15 minutes, if I can get, I would like to talk a little more about this.
Sure, ma'am.
Well, Parul is talking about career counseling. As I understand, what you're saying is that it can help you, an assessment can help you as an educator in career counseling. Have I understood right? And if you can just explain to me a little more about it, if you can unmute and just share.
Yeah, sure, ma'am. What I mean is that if as you mentioned, if we know the aptitude of a student, where the aptitude lies, as there's a classic movie, and I am sure all of us must have watched Three Idiots, where the student Farhan, all along he was forced by his father to pursue engineering, where inside him lies a photographer, right? So there are many students, if you talk to them, at higher education level, who have been forced or who have nothing to do. But it is not that they don't have the potential or the ability or the capacity to reach the highest level. It's only thing is that they need a direction. So suppose if we render any of these MBTI, as long as my knowledge goes, MBTI was first used after the World War II to give a direction to the women who were left to sustain or earn a living, right? And it gave them a direction as to which profession they could best suited for. So same thing if we can apply in case of career counseling for our students, right? So if we can do, if we can just give them a direction, it won't be, again, as you have been talking, that 100% accuracy might not be there, but just to give them a direction. Yes, maybe you are more on creativity or innovation, and if you take up a field or a discipline which would allow you to practice your own aptitude or your own interest, so I think that would be helpful. And also because if we talk about undergraduate level, we get students who are straight from the school, right? And at juncture, maybe they are not very clear about which profession or which course to pursue, which would be better suited to them. So in that context is what I refer to.
Well, it makes a lot of sense. In fact, in India, MBTI came into India officially in 2008. Okay, the official partners, and it became available. The testing became available, and for some reason, it became like for the leadership cadre. So anybody who is direct report to CEO or that level, unko MBTI karayenge. There was a reason for that. MBTI as a test, the explanation of it, if you read the language is very an educated language, if you understand what I mean. Now, why am I talking about this? Because when Parul was talking, it came to my mind that I had to cover that which test is the kind of test that you want to use. You need to understand that the report has to be used by a person, by both the person who is going to be helping the candidate as well as the candidate. The person has to understand ki iska karna kya hai. Doing a report and having a report in hand is of no use. As Parul said, it is about guiding. So if it is about guiding, you need to figure out how would the person connect with the test, and is it valid? Do we really want to search, or do we really want to test what this assessment is actually testing? So yes, you're right. It can be used very, very effectively in guiding a person as to what is your aptitude and which direction should you go. I can see Raghu writing may not be right to judge, but for coaching and mentoring would help. Raghu, if I can ask you to share with me, what do you mean by may not be right to judge? Is Raghu there?
Hello, Anila ma'am.
Hi, Raghu.
You're able to hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Perfect.
What?
Yeah.
Why don't you share
Uh,
with us?
yeah. I mean, this is based on my experience at the engineering level or at the degree level or even during the corporate level of the IT. These tests usually were being targeted and being used by, again, it's very subjective and based on my experience, but it was used to corner or group certain set of people and then aim and treat them in a certain way. So, which comes with a preconceived notions, again based on somebody else has directed that what these if a certain personality trait comes out with certain behavioral aspects, you have to treat them in certain way. Though that particular person may have a potential to maybe go forward and lead the whole team. You never know, but stereotyping them, making that judgment call, and then it was definitely used, and I have been uh, uh, on the victim side of it. And going forward, what I did was, at least when I was in a managerial position, I had to change that. I had to change that stance and give opportunity, because the learnings that I had was supposed to get converted, not nor to just follow it blindly. So if the same thing is used for coaching and mentoring, as the I think Parul ma'am had mentioned, where you know a particular person, you know what their skills are, or what their abilities are, and you can work upon them, assign a proper mentor, and then eventually coach them at least into what do you call towards a teamwork. That's much more than beneficial. So that's my whole view. So rather than stereotyping, if you can move it to the mentoring and coaching, that is where few of the organizations are going, but most of the organizations still look at the uh, pocketing people into one bucket, two bucket trick, which is sad, which is really sad. That was my view.
We agree with Raghu. And Raghu, I'm so thankful that you brought this out. This is something that I mentioned to Sergio ma'am that tomorrow we will cover, but I'm so glad that you brought it out. It is true. And that's the biggest disadvantage of assessments. And I usually say is कि खोमचों के हाथ में अगर तुम दे दो, तो what will you expect? This is a very Punjabi, very coarse way of saying it. That if a person doesn't understand how to use an assessment, they can actually do a lot of damage. As you said, they can corner people. They can actually bracket people. An assessment is just one more data point. It is not the only data point. And the fact is that only that person can actually tell you, is this correct about me or not? Otherwise, nobody knows that person well enough. Unless I tell you that when I am faced with something like this, what happens? What happens inside? You can't come to know that unless I tell you. So you are right. We need to be very careful. And as educators, we need to be even more careful for the simple reason the damage that can be done at that age is so much more than when we are more developed in our outlook. So yes, that is true. I see that Divya has written career guidance based on their interest, aptitude, and personality. I found that very, very interesting. Divya, if you can tell me what do you mean, a little more about what you mean here. Is Divya there?
Yeah, yeah, I'm there. Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, we have been doing this like when we take up the students at the undergrad level. So while they enter, so in the beginning, like we do take some psychometric tests. There is like we have a psychology department. So they have been giving us a test battery, and they do come and do career guidance, so that like at the beginning only, when the students they are looking forward to what field they want to go into. Sometimes even if you see students like we talked about engineering students after 12th, they don't want to pursue engineering and they won't want to go to field of like say fashion designing or doing management or something else. So there like we help them. Our department is there where during summers we organize such sessions for the students, for the school students who can come and get career guidance. So there these kind of psychometric tests are used to help them identify that what kind of career or what kind of courses can be suitable according to their interest or their personality.
Okay, that is very
Yeah.
interesting. If that's being used, that is, I would say, that's quite forward. Um, and if that can give them guidance in terms of interest, that's excellent. I have a question for Jagnesh Chandar. You've written learning behavior. Can you tell me what you mean by that? That's interesting. Jugesh. Yes, Jugesh. I can't hear you, Jugesh. The mic has to be.
Yes.
Yes, Jugesh.
Yes. I must be audible now.
Yes, you are. You have
Yes.
written learning behavior.
Yes. Ultimately, what is the main purpose of the student in a college or a school? That is learning. Learning is to gain knowledge, develop skill, and ultimately so that he can go for some job, employment, I mean to say.
Yes.
So all these things depends upon how he is responding to the our teachings. Teaching doesn't mean only whatever we teach, it includes all types of teaching from a teacher. What is the response of the student from that? So accordingly, we can develop some psychometric method and make assessment of that individually for each student. And what are the plus points common? What are the common points negative? Based upon that information, we can analyze, and ultimately we have to come for that process only counseling, guidance, and mentoring. All these processes which others have taught, these all depends upon how these can be successful. These can be successfully based upon the outputs which we get from our interactions and psychometric methods. So while developing those all methods, it should be kept into mind. So if we talk of objectivity and subjectivity, according to me, we can minimize subjectivity only. Ultimately, however best the method may be, the conditions all depends upon the person who draws from the outputs. So their subjectivity part comes. So to consider all these points, so we can very well say that this psychometric method process is very helpful in developing our further guidance, mentoring processes, etc. And how to reduce the subjectivity, that also depends. That's why
Okay.
it's a learning process and analysis of all these psychometric methods.
Okay, now I understand. A word of caution here. A lot of us feel that we can create these assessments and it's easy. And as teachers and as educators, because we are creating assessments. However, when we talk about psychometric assessments, then there is a whole body of teaching that goes behind. And that's where the validity and reliability scores become very important. And it takes years for the test to be run with an audience or with a target audience to be able to give us, and they say 75% reliability is the minimum where we actually say that the test is actually a robust test. So a 75% reliability and validity percentage, and you will be learning more about it, I think tomorrow or day after, you're going to be learning about it in detail. So we have to be a little cautious about the fact that are the tests reliable? Because we could end up creating more subjectivity when our aim is to take it away, to make it more objective. That's number one. The other is, I really loved this question I have been posed by Harshvardhan. Interests are more important or psychometric analysis? Harsh, you tell me, what do you think? And then I will answer. Harsh, are you there?
So one of the thing is as per me, like, because I haven't gone into that detail in psychometric thing.
Mm-hmm.
So as per me, like interests are part of that psychometric thing.
Yes.
So again, because you develop interest because you have got like certain psychometric things around, and
You're absolutely right.
and then because interest is one thing you will pursue from your heart, whereas assessment is something which is enforced from outside. So
However,
like a thing which is pursued from heart and thing which is imposed from outside, always the thing which is pursued from heart wins. That is that is what we learn from beginning to end of our life.
absolutely, Harsh. In fact, your psychometric assessment should support your interest. अगर आपका interest, let's say, creative है और आपका psychometric assessment valid और reliable है, तो उसका result indicate करना चाहिए कि आपका interest यहाँ पे है. That's when it is a good test. For an example, and I'm going to give an example as a closing. There is a lot of disturbance.
I don't think it is from my side.
Okay, so I was no, somebody's speaker is on, so we need to mute. Harsh, why don't you try muting yours?
I can try.
Just mute yours and see if it becomes any better. Okay, thanks, Vidhi. You've muted for me. So I was going to give an example, and I'm going to give an example about myself because I think that's the easiest thing to talk about. Nobody can get upset. I did my first psychometric test in 1998. It was a disc-based test called Personality Plus. So in disc, they are more or less talking about personalities being divided into four kind of personalities, and each test has its nuances to it, but mota moti it means there's one personality which is very outgoing, very happy, very goal oriented, okay, but can be very bossy, can be very overpowering. Then there's another personality jisko you can look at as a butterfly. You know, कमरे में जान भर देंगे, बहुत बात करेंगे, आइडियाज देंगे, पर ऊपर से they look nice. Then there is another personality जो बिल्कुल quiet है, relaxed है. They are the evergreen kind of person. हर बंदे के साथ उनकी बनती है, काम कर दे दो उनको, वो कर लेंगे. That is another group of personalities. And then there is the kind of personalities who are very detailed about everything. हर चीज को perfectly करेंगे. So in DISC ऐसी 4 personalities को उन्होंने define किया हुआ है. Now problem ये है कि कोई ऐसी personality है नहीं जिसमें सिर्फ सब अच्छा हो या सिर्फ सब खराब हो. So every personality, they're showing the good and the bad. It is a spectrum. Okay. At one end, it is good. If you take it to the other extreme, the same thing, the same trait becomes bad. Now, at that time when I had done this personality test, there's a certain combination, and nobody's a pure personality. So a certain combination had come. In that combination, there is a combination of 3 different personality traits that come in a certain percentage. The point I want to make is, in 1998, I had done that. Okay. Since then, I have done an MBTI. I have done Thomas profiling. I have done Belkin. I have done Gallup. I have done Conferry. I have done extended disc. In fact, extended disc work I have done from 2010 till now. I'm certified and I do a lot of work with them as an assessor also. Okay. All of these tests that I've taken, and I have taken a couple of others also. So I've explored 16PF because I was working with MAFA. I have an idea about FIRO-B, and I've experimented with a couple of tests. Sub-tests may say, across all these years, those 3 traits come out. differently. It's defined differently. Every test writes it a little differently, calls it a little different. Somebody calls it the sanguine personality. So somebody calls it the butterfly personality. Somebody calls it, the extrovert and the introvert. But the point is, in all these years, across all these tests, with all different definitions, all different theories, the basic personality type remains the same. Now, that is the validity of such tests. I know from inside that this is who I am. And a psychometric test only should be used to validate that, what I already know, to give direction, to be another data point. It cannot define me. I define it. Does that make sense, Sarju, what I'm saying?
Yes, Ben, absolutely. Just wanted to, I won't say intervene, but the thing is, it's already, a bit late. So will it be okay if we continue a session tomorrow?
Not a problem at all. What I would want to do is, if you can take a printout of the chat, because there's some very, very nice questions that have come and remarks that have.
We'll take up question and answer session separately.
No,
Tomorrow.
what I mean to say is,
the question. I have noted down the question.
Yeah. So if you've taken that,
yes,
I formulate tomorrow based on the questions that have come or the comments that have come.
Sure.
And if anybody wants a particular thing to be answered, just put it on chat right now and I'll have a look at it.
Please, I'll request participants to please type in your questions in the chat box so that she can have a look on it, and we'll definitely take up question and answer session tomorrow.
That'll be a good idea.
Yes, please type in your questions as per what the session where she has covered today, for today. And participants, please stay back because we'll be taking feedback and attendance for this particular session.
Okay, so Sarju, then I will move out and you can keep a copy of the chat.
Sure. I'll be giving up. You can just stay in, ma'am.
Okay.
So it was, I'll just thank you for making a sail through concomitants of psychometrics and how it is applied in a wide array of things. And obviously, thank you for involving participants and making us understand the very basics of psychometrics in a very lucid manner. Well, you were very right in saying that it is the objective way of doing or handling the situation, whether going by cognitive way or the way one's personality is. Because I was just, it was just coming in the back of my mind, the situation we faced. So there were two ways. Either we could have reacted or we could have responded. And when we say we are reacting, so it is a cognitive, I believe it is a cognitive way. And when we are responding, it is how you have, what type of personality you have and how you are taking up the situation.
Yes.
So I think, and you were very right in saying that, we don't have to box a person in a personality, because as per the changing scenario and the changing thought process, even the person which we were having, say 15, even if I take myself 15 years back and now what I am, because we are learning and experiencing different things every day. And so it gives us it adds on to our vision and our thought process every single day and every single moment, I believe. So we'll talk about validity and reliability of tests, because the changing personality over a period of time, if we talk about an individual. So we'll not take up much of the time today, since we have already taken plenty of time for today's session. So I'll request Dr. Ritesh to kindly proceed for feedback and attendance.